Largemouth bass are a unique species that inhabit all different types of water around the world. They thrive in large rivers, ponds, small creeks, natural lakes, and reservoirs alike. They're a very adaptable fish that can feed on a wide variety of forage. Of the three major bass species, smallmouth, spotted bass, and largemouth bass prefer to live around dense cover no matter where they're at. You name it, lily pads, milfoil, reeds, submerged brush, or timber are great underwater habitat that draws concentrations of largemouth bass. The makeup and depth and density of these different types of cover often determine the best presentation tactic. Today on The Angling Edge, James Lindner and Jake Wallace go deep on some of the finer points of bullrush fishing bass. I'll get her back in the drink. Wait, they're all of them look the same thing. They're all just like super chunks. Closed captioning is provided by Smooth Moves, adjustable boat seat suspensions for a smoother ride.
There's one.
Got him?
Yeah, it's in the reed. Oh, come on, buddy.
You had him?
Oh, yeah.
Still on?
Still on.
Oh.
Yeah, it feels like a good fish.
Whoa.
Pulling them out of them bulrushes. There we go.
Yeah, you gotta lean on them. There you go.
Yeah. That's what we're looking for. Flip them up. There we go. Good way to start.
Wow, that's a little fatso.
Yeah, we'll get a little flip here. There we go. Nice fish. Look at that. Thick up in the bulrushes. Pop that jig out. Great way to start the morning, huh?
That guy came out of the dent stuff. Boy, look how fat little chunk he is. Look at that thing. Beautiful bass. Look at the yellow color on her. Not a biggie, but it was a bass. Boy, but it tells you something maybe where the fish are. Sometimes they're on the outside face, sometimes they get really dense in where you have to really commando fish them. That fish was like in the middle of that stuff right there. It's one thing when you're talking about fishing these vertical weeds like bulrushes and maiden cane or reeds is cast placement. The biggest thing is not to cast too far. You cast too far, then you got to pull them back. So you got to be, when you get into the really thick stuff, I have the tendency to make really short casts. The thing that's sort of interesting when you get into this type of cover, the fish don't spook away from the boat. You can be almost right on top of them and you won't spook them. Yeah. There's one. Oh, there's a good one. Oh, whoa. Wow, huh. Ooh, come here, buddy. Come here. Come here. Oh, come here, you little runt, you. You know, we sort of spot lock this here. There we go. Come here. Oh, come here. Look at that. Beautiful bass, though. You gotta play with them in the boat. Come here, buddy. Holy mackerel. That guy really got me. Beautiful bass. It's sort of interesting, you know, these reeds, a lot of these reeds are different, have different like weed composition around them. You know, some of them actually have are hard bottom areas, but you also have some of them, we have actually different type of mixed grasses inside there, and sometimes you'll see preferences where the fish are actually can be sort of concentrated in. In this particular case, that's what we just started noticing. Boy, there's a lot of mixed cabbage in here. I don't know if that's going to make a difference or not, but we will look for it in the future. We'll pull my pegging weight to sort of pin it pretty close to the bait here, huh? You wouldn't think that mapping would be applicable to this type of fishing situation, but realistically it is. These beds are so big, you know, up in north. So we live in central Minnesota, and we actually have acres and acres of this type of water, whether it be bulrushes or like what we have here, reed beds, you know what I mean? There are acres around. But what I can do, because dependent on where the fish are positioned, if they're around the perimeter, it's very easy to fish around the perimeter. But a lot of times when you're fishing up in the inside, and what you can use your track line is more or less like mowing the lawn, that you zigzag back and forth like this, and you actively, really effectively cover over the entire reed bed.
There's one.
Got him, there you go.
Nice one.
This segment is brought to you by Wavy Label Eyewear. Backed by a lifetime warranty, we see what others don't.
There's one.
Got him, there you go.
Nice one.
There you go. Lean on that dog, come on. Come on, Jake.
Gotta get him out of the stairs.
Pull him out of there.
Shit, can't even see the jig.
Yes.
That's how we like it. Oh, nice fish. Oh, come on, buddy. There we go. Look at that. You know, one thing that's really important when you're doing this, you know, pitching, throwing in this really heavy cover for these bass is jig weight. Fire this guy back here. Nice. Now, when you're pitching in heavy cover for largemouth bass, jig weight's super important. And you know, you're thinking, you know, fishing shallow, you'd think go light, but the reality is you want to go heavy for two reasons. one, for accuracy when you're casting, and two is to make noise, right? To pull those fish out of cover and help them find your jig.
Well, Jake's been fishing a 1/2 ounce Terminator jig. I've been fishing a 3/4 ounce punch rig with a BFE, a big bite flipping bait. It's called the best flipping bait ever. And what Jake was talking about goes the same with punch baits. The interesting thing is, one thing that's really important when we're casting, what we're trying to do is also engaging the reel right away and feathering the bait down so it's not plunging to the bottom really quickly in some cases. It depends on the attitude of the fish. Sometimes if the fish are a little bit more inactive, the lighter weight will help unquestionably. But the thing is the casting accuracy and getting the bait to actually punch through the cover with the weight is more important to get the bait down to the bottom. Actually, realistically, when you look through the cover we have here, it's very, very dense. You know what I mean? There's a lot of different particulate matter, algae on the sides of the reed stalks, bulrush or maiden cane. And so what you want to do is, that heavy weight is really cool in the fact that you're literally lifting. You'll notice the way we're fishing the bait, we're actually popping it up and down off the bottom, because what you're trying to do is actually attract the fish from a distance away. This is a stop knot. They just come on little wires here, and you can see what I have here. Just these little rubber grommets, but what you do is you take and you put your line through it like that and then pull the rubber stop knot onto the line. And I'm going to slide this up, and then what I got here is just a BMC tungsten weight. And okay, what we're going to do, slide the weight on. That's a 3/4 ounce. You could go to a 1/2 or a 1 ounce depending on your preference and what you want for a drop speed. And then what I have here is actually, it's a flipping hook. And this happens to be a VMC red line, which is sort of a newer hook. This is vanadium steel, but it's really super strong. And then it actually has sort of this what's called PTFE. It has like a coating on it to make it faster hooking. They claim that it's 50% faster hooking on there. You can see what I did is I just made a loop, slid it on there, and then I'm going to drop my line back through the hole here. And then what I'm going to do is pull this whole thing tight with the line like this up the hook. And there you go. And that's on there. That's a really serious system right there. That's what a lot of guys use, and there's a reason for this. The reason being is because when you set the hook, it actually leverages the hook up to more positive purchase versus hanging straight without that snell knot. It just hangs straight. But when you put leverage on it, you can see how it twists that hook into more positive hooking position like that. It's a really good system for this, and my bait of choice right now is a big bite BFE, which is called the best flipping bait ever. The nice thing about this is it's got a lot of plastic to it. It's very, very dense, so it actually can be fished through that heavy cover without tearing through the bait, and it enables you to pitch through the stuff without tearing the bait up really quickly. What I'm going to do is take it and just put it in there, sleeve her up, spin her, and then what I'm going to do versus texposing it, a lot of times I would punch it all the way through the bait and then dig it back into the bait. With this, because the cover is so dense, what I'm going to do is just take it and put it right in the center of the bait like that, and that'll enable me to actually pull this bait through that heavy cover. When it gets hung up, you won't have the tendency, the hook won't punch all the way through the bait. But that's your system, or one of the systems besides the jig that's a really great flipping bait for vertical weeds like bulrushes, reeds, maiden cane. That's the system. Okay. Oh, come here. Come here. Come here. Come here, buddy. There we go. Pulled up to the real outside patches, way out in the middle of the lake. A lot of these, we're here out, second week of August, and right now we're fishing bulrush patches that are actually really main lake oriented. They're all towards the, out in deeper water. That's a beautiful bass, no question about it. Earlier in the year you could be fishing in the back bays, where they'll be using the same habitat farther back. But right now it's late season as far as the summer goes, and a lot of them were targeting bulrushes that are on the outside face. One thing that's really revolutionized this type of fishing, it's really sort of interesting what it is. Well, obviously electronics, meaning a trolling motor to be able to pull through heavy cover like this. You have the right presentation-specific rods that are really designed to pull big fish out of dense cover, high-speed reels. Believe it or not, it's the line. 30 years ago when we used to come in there and fish this stuff, we'd be fishing with like 25 to 30 pound test monofilament line, which had stretch. And it was a real workout to be able to land these fish. But with this new braids, this is Suffolk's 50-pound performance braid. And with this stuff, you can pull a truck with it, you know what I mean? This stuff is not only abrasion resistant, but one of the biggest things is when you hook a fish way back in there, you can immediately turn its head and pull you towards the boat. When you used to be fishing with monofilament, you'd hook the fish and they could, it had so much stretch, the fish could pull away from you and get wrapped around the bulrushes, and you'd lose a lot of them. But I'm not kidding. The one thing that I would say that's really changed the face of this type of really dense cover fishing is braided line, no question about it.
This boat is rigged up about as nice, easy to use, and it flat out works.
It's a must-have when you're talking about big waves. Well, these trout are so darn tough.
This bait is legendary.
So that was on a number 8 Shad Rap.
Your style of boat control is really key.
One that was there from the very beginning.
You want to be able to see in the water. The adventure begins.
Today's day and age, bass fishing is so presentation specific as far as rod and reel goes. This is St. Croix's Legend Tournament Flippin' Stick. It's 7 foot 6 inches in length. It's a heavy power with a moderate fast action. This is a perfect balance for flipping big bass out of heavy cover.
The same thing with the reel. This is actually a Daiwa Elite pitch and flipping reel. This is 8.1. It's a real fast gear ratio reel, but it also has this T-wing system that it opens up the aperture for you know, accurate cast for long distance. It also has this quick release thumb bar that really can quickly engage the reel. As the bait is dropping, I just hit the thumb bar to pop it up so I can ready to set the hook as quickly as possible. But you know, today's day and age, that's the way bass fishing is. It's so presentation specific, rod, reel, and line. We're gonna reposition here to actually fish these reeds really as accurately as possible. We wanna be fishing with the grain of the reeds, but the thing is we have the wind and we're blowing it at our back. So what I'm gonna do is turn around. Jake, let's go downstream. You wanna drive us down there and we'll fish back. And it'll be just a little bit easier for boat control.
Now you'll really see this kind of fishing is really boat specific. You wanna make sure you have the right stuff. And we've got the talons back there, and it's a huge help because there's so many spots that these fish could be. Being able to talon down in the middle of these bulrush beds allows you to pick apart the spots and catch these fish.
This should be good in here. Boy, we've got a really nice dense stand. This is the farthest clump of bulrushes out into the lake. This is like the lead point. In other words, as deep as the bulrushes grow in this lake, this is the point right here. Oop. Oh, there's one. Oh, come on, buddy. Oh, 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 whoa. Come here. There you go. Interesting little spot where that fish came from. When you look up there, you can see there's a bunch of alternate weeds actually blown into the edge of the bulrushes, and it actually forms a little bit better overhead cover, and that's where that fish was positioned at. But there's a variety of different specific spots around these bulrush beds when you're looking at where the fish are likely to be positioned at.
Fishing these giant bulrush beds can seem intimidating. They are so massive, and you have to fish relatively slow to pick them apart.
Ooh. There's one. Oh, whoa, whoa.
Here's a few things that'll help you with the fish finding process. Edges. There is obviously an outside edge to many of these reed beds, but when you dig in a little deeper and go inside, you'll notice alternate edges, thicker weed mats, wind-blown overhead cover, large holes on the inside, and natural lanes in the reeds. These are all potential targets. Be aware if you catch a fish off a certain type of cover mixture, because it's something that could be possibly replicated in other weed beds. Depending on the time of the year, water depth can be a pivotal factor. Experiment with different reed depths and a pattern will emerge. Now when it comes to wind, it can be a double-edged sword. On one hand, it makes fishing a little bit more difficult because you want to be fishing with the wind directly from your back, so you're fishing with the natural grain of the wind-blown cover. But one thing the wind can do is concentrate the fish on the wind-blown side of any reed bed.
So what Jim was saying with fishing with the grain of the weeds, you can see them getting blown down like this. So I'm able to cast back, pick a spot, and then I can actually fish through it without getting caught, and it's also way easier to land them because the fish aren't going across them, you're getting caught. You're able to pull them right through this cover.
Got him.
There it is.
That doesn't look like a rocky to
I
me
don't
there,
think
big
so.
boy. Or is it a big bull rock?
No.
We are loaded for bear. We got
You know,
ice.
there's so many different ways to fish for walleye. Dependability and efficiency.
Simple, fast, and easy.
The best rods on the planet. They like to eat when you're throwing the right thing.
You don't have all bluebird flat calm days.
Just a perfect eating size fish. See, that's what I'm talking about, these Eyewear drags.
We got walleye stuff. We got crappie stuff. We got pike stuff.
Oh, whoa, whoa, there, look at that. There we go. Wow.
You know, this is
Whoa.
toe-to-toe fishing. It's not for the faint-of-hearted, but it can be some of the best bass fishing you can get in all year.
You know, reed fishing like this is actually a lot of work, but the thing is that, boy, it can be absolutely a gas. It really is.
You know you've had a good day when you got a pile of old rubber like that.
Hey, I got a special guest with us today. It's my friend Jeff Simpson. Jeff and I go way back to In Fisherman Communications Network when my family and I owned the business. we sold that. We got involved with Lindner Media Productions, and we started the Angling Edge television series, and it's alive and well today, and a number of other shows that we produce. And Jeff is in charge of our social media area. He oversees the whole social media world that we live in today. And when we do these closes like this, Dan Lindner, my nephew, is on the camera, and Jeff have always been with me, and we pray over the opening and get a direction. We know what's right. We seek some wisdom on the stuff. And I asked him, is there anything on your heart that you might want to share with the viewers? And Jeff came up with something on his heart, and I'm going to just turn it over to you, brother.
Well, thanks, Al. Yeah, the one thing I can think of that has helped me for decades is to really take conscious of and consideration for forgiving people and to forgive often, you know, and that was really handed to my wife and I before we got married, and boy, has that really paid big dividends for us in our marriage. Sometimes I step on her toes, she steps on my toes, but every day, like, we start the day off fresh, we forgive each other. And for people, you know, as we move along in life, you know, they're just people that we're humans. We're kind of a funny bunch, right? We step on each other's toes, and we may offend each other. And some of those infractions can be bigger, you know, dealing with people as you go along in life. And so it takes a lot of effort for yourself to forgive somebody, but it's really, really, truly worth the effort. It's only the main person that's going to benefit is you and me. So I honestly go through the effort, and if somebody has offended me, I will, or hurt me in some way, to go through that process of in my head and in my heart to forgive that person. And it may take several times, and it may bubble back up, and I really work at forgiving. And what that does is it will release you, and those open wounds will heal. You may still have those scars, but they're just scars, and you don't feel that anymore. So it's written right here in the Bible, Matthew 18:21 through 22. Then Peter came to him and said, Lord, how often shall my brother sin against me and I forgive him? Up to 7 times? Jesus said to him, I do not say to you up to 7 times, but up to 70 times 7 times per person. That's 500 times roughly. So, but it pays, it's a gift from God to forgive people.
Hey, simple words of wisdom that all of us have to deal with at some time in our life, multiple times. Hey, from all of us here at The Edge, have a good, safe fishing season. Thanks for being with us. Let's head to South Dakota and catch some walleyes.
Sounds like a good plan.